The year is 2200, humanity has mastered space travel and can now live in homes located in planetary orbit. Mayumi is a young, attractive woman, a potter passionate about her craft, working in her studio in one of these space-based houses when her husband Naoki suggests she take a break. She washes her hands and goes out for dinner. Afterwards, she accepts a delivery brought by a cargo shuttle with the help of their household robot, Q. Suddenly, she feels a ringing in her ears, and a terrifying vision flashes before her eyes. Red streaks, and she herself lying in a pool of blood. But then her husband calls her name and reminds her they have an appointment with the doctor. Mayumi assures him that she's fine, yet when Naoki turns away, her face becomes troubled. She follows Naoki into a room outfitted with metaverse chairs that allow a person to travel to any point. She admits she often confuses what's real and what's virtual. The device turns on, and Mayumi finds herself in a clinic where her husband and the doctor are already waiting. She tells the doctor that her ears often ring and her head hurts. The doctor suspects she has a post-traumatic disorder since she lost her memory after spending time in a coma caused by a head injury she received during a tsunami. Strangely enough, Mayumi doesn't remember the cataclysm at all. Later, Naoki gives an interview as the inventor of the first orbital homes, which many of the planet's wealthy citizens have moved into. Looking at Earth from orbit, they can learn to cherish the world they left behind. And when the climate improves, people will return to their home planet. Meanwhile, Mayumi admires the tomato harvest in their greenhouse. The tomatoes look perfect. Q accompanies her and helps pick some greens for dinner. Later, she meets Naoki with his favorite soup. She's happy that her body remembers what she once knew how to do, and Naoki is thrilled. He didn't dare hope she would start cooking again. Mayumi jots something down on a slip of paper and explains to her husband that she's decided to keep a record of events. Maybe it will help her restore her memories and relive the moment they met, got married, and moved into a beach house. After all, by all accounts, that was the happiest time of their marriage. For some reason, this idea worries Naoki. He insists it's too soon for them to return to Earth and reminds her of the doctor's advice. Think about the future, not dwell on the past. Ignoring this advice, Mayumi remembers a rainy day when a drenched young man entered her house carrying a backpack that held the robot Q. She was working, but upon seeing him, she stepped out of the workshop and offered him shelter from the bad weather under her roof. Looking at her pottery, Naoki was amazed and said he wanted to buy one of her vases, but Mayumi considered it defective and simply gave it to him as a gift. In the present, they head to the bedroom, but suddenly, Naoki pushes her away. She doesn't understand what she did wrong, yet he refuses to explain. Mayumi is surprised that her husband believes he knows her better than she knows herself. He agrees he knows his wife well, and she is not Mayumi. Naoki raises a knife above her, and Mayumi wakes up. Disturbed, Mayumi goes to the doctor and tells him about her nightmare. It was so realistic she's afraid to go back to sleep. The doctor urges her to forget it, believing it a symptom of PTSD. He reminds her that it was Naoki who stayed by her side all that time. The doctor himself thought it was pointless and believed she would never regain consciousness, but Naoki never gave up, and when she finally woke, he was beside himself with joy. Mayumi returns to reality and takes a shower, but there it gets even worse. She sees bloody streaks on the glass, and her neck aches badly. Later, her husband helps dry her hair and tries to encourage her. During the day, Mayumi works in her studio, and upon picking up a bowl, she suddenly remembers hitting someone with it. An unhinged man had broken into her house demanding she sell him some pottery. When Mayumi insisted it was too fragile, he started hitting her. At that moment, Naoki rushed at the intruder and started beating him with brutal ferocity. She couldn't stop him. Only when the man lost consciousness did Naoki back off. Mayumi treated the wounds on his hands and thanked him for protecting her, but she asked him never to fight again because it had frightened her greatly. Naoki promised that instead of him, Q would defend her. Laughing, Mayumi continued checking Naoki's injuries and noticed terrible burns on his sides and back. He admitted that his father was very fond of cigars. Feeling pity, Mayumi kissed him, and that was the beginning of their relationship. In the present, Naoki is reviewing his wife's psychological profile when he suddenly hears music from the living room. He goes there and sees Mayumi napping on the couch with a Debussy record playing on the turntable. Mayumi notices him and admits she really loves this melody and remembers it from beginning to end. Her husband then suggests they look at the real moon. He takes her to an observation window, and Mayumi is delighted to see the moon is red. Naoki explains it's because of a lunar eclipse, while she dreams of walking on the moon, something that inexplicably unsettles him. He steps out of the airlock and seals her inside, repeating that she is not Mayumi. At first she laughs, thinking it's a joke, but then she realizes he's serious and starts to panic, especially when she sees he's preparing to open the outer door. With tremendous effort, she forces the doors apart and makes it inside. Then, just like in her dream, Naoki raises a knife and drives it into her neck. Instead of blood, a white fluid seeps out, and Naoki pulls a chip from the base of her neck, leaving the android's motionless body on the floor. He leaves, ordering Q to dispose of the robot. Later, he weeps, recalling the night he found his wife's mutilated body on the shore. The next day, he goes to the doctor and admits he got rid of the android because it was defective. The backup memory must have been corrupted, but the doctor objects, saying he installed the memory exactly from the day Naoki had specified. However, on that day, she couldn't have remembered that melody. Naoki asks him to create yet another, earlier version. When the doctor tries to argue, Naoki reminds him that there are plenty of specialists who can do memory transfers, so he can easily go elsewhere. The doctor explains that the previous version of Mayumi had been saved from a point after their honeymoon. Hence, Naoki wants an even earlier version. That way she'll have no memory of that other woman, and if she doesn't believe the tsunami story, he'll tell her the truth, that she's an android. Later, a new Mayumi arrives at the orbital home. When she comes to her senses, she has no idea where she is. Naoki explains that they went out to make copies, but were in an accident and she died. Mayumi refuses to believe it, but then hesitates and asks how long it's been. Hearing that 5 years have passed, she jumps out of bed and rushes to the window, then suddenly calms down and lets him hug her. He thanks her for returning to him. The next day, Mayumi is in the workshop when her husband comes in and throws a cracker at her. Mayumi throws one back, they goof around, and then she shows him their wedding photo, confessing it was the happiest day of her life. He agrees, but reminds her that every other day was just as happy. Mayumi admits she feels as if she cheated death, but will it be enough for him to have just a copy of her? Naoki confesses it's the best solution under the circumstances and suggests they travel somewhere together. In the next instant, they're driving down a beautiful road among trees, enjoying the sunshine and birdsong. Stopping at a small shrine, Mayumi suddenly notices a house nearby. She walks toward it and seems to slip into an earth bar where she meets a woman named Jab. Naoki calls her name and the vision fades. They move on to a beach house where they spent their honeymoon. Mayumi remembers the objects in the living room, and they laugh about how Q once made a hole in a column. It starts to rain. Mayumi runs outside, letting the warm raindrops wash over her face. Naoki catches up to her, but she suddenly recalls encounters with Jab, sees the woman's face before her, and calls out her name. Naoki's smile fades. The couple returns to the orbital home. Mayumi feels uneasy and tries to explain things to her husband, but he takes her to an elevator and rides it to the top of the tower where gravity is negligible. Floating, Mayumi forgets everything and basks in this strange sensation. But once she's used to it, she tells her husband she can't stay here. He knew all along she was seeing someone else. Naoki pretends he doesn't understand. Besides, it doesn't matter now. But Mayumi says it does matter. She loves Jab. She can't be with him. Naoki embraces her and breaks the android's neck. He holds another copy of his wife and cries, recalling how on one rainy day she begged him not to hurt her or use violence. Then he realized she had found someone else and lost control. He wasn't a cruel man, yet Mayumi showed him the bruises on her arm from his grip. Enraged, Naoki smashed the furniture while she remembered Jab. The next day, Naoki found them in the living room listening to Debussy. His wife was in another woman's arms. Later, Mayumi announced she was leaving him and tried to erase his playful portrait drawn on a glass partition. In the present, Naoki goes to the doctor again and asks him to use Mayumi's memory from the day they first met. Their wedding, their honeymoon, and the other 6 years should just be erased. He wants one last chance to win back his wife. Soon the android arrives at the house, but this time Mayumi is frightened when she sees him, feeling she has woken up a hostage of an almost total stranger. He reminds her that she had wanted to go to space, and he describes their wedding and happy life together in the beach house. But her current version has no such memories because he hopes she'd recognize him and fall in love with him again. If she doesn't, he won't force her to stay. Mayumi calms down a little and agrees to give it a chance. He tells her they were very happy for all those 6 years. Then he wishes her goodnight, but Mayumi can't sleep. She looks around the room and finds a note in the vanity, warning that Naoki will kill her. At that moment, her husband comes in and tells her he's leaving on business. When he returns, he'll show her around the house. After he's gone, Mayumi finds Q and asks the robot to help her escape. Q leads her to the elevator, and Mayumi goes up the tower. She doesn't understand why the robot brought her there and wants to know who wrote the warning. Suddenly, she hears her own voice. Turning around, she sees an exact copy of herself, who admits she's the one who wrote that note. Shocked, Mayumi sees many duplicates of herself silently emerging from all corners of the room. They explain that Q saved them, but Naoki destroyed their identities, yet they retain some remnants of memory. They are all the same person, and now she must save her earlier versions. Q confesses that it can summon a transport shuttle, and Mayumi suggests that her duplicates escape on it. But first, they need to exchange memories. The androids begin the process. Time rewinds to an evening when Naoki finds Mayumi packing her suitcase. Naoki begs her to stay, but she shows him the bruises on her skin. He always promised not to hurt her again, and she always believed him, but it kept happening. Maybe it's because he suffered in childhood, but she can't endure it anymore. She walks into the yard, but he catches up to her. Seeing the knife, Mayumi panics and climbs onto the parapet. Naoki drops the blade, yet pushes her. Mayumi falls from the height and dies. He discovers her body on the shore and weeps over it. In the present, Naoki arrives for dinner and sees his wife made his favorite soup. But how did she know? He notices her taped neck. It's a previous version of Mayumi. The android flees. Meanwhile, the latest Mayumi continues exchanging memories with her duplicates. Naoki hunts down the earlier version, cornering her in the greenhouse. She briefly tricks him, but is eventually killed. He enters the elevator, but Mayumi, warned of his approach, orders Q to stop him. The robot disables the lift, forcing Naoki to climb the shaft. Meanwhile, Mayumi arms herself, preparing to trap him in the airlock. She thanks Q. It's the last humanity left in her husband. Reaching the tower, Naoki lunges at Mayumi. She flees, leading him into the airlock, but he escapes before the doors close and seizes her. Q intervenes, reminding him of his past command to protect her. He tries to attack again, but the androids grab him, and Mayumi throws a knife that strikes Naoki in the chest. He falls as the copies silently watch him. Mayumi says they will never forgive him. He destroyed everything. He suddenly recalls how they used to dream of living in a space home and drew pictures of it on a glass partition. He weeps. Mayumi helps him up and leads him to the shuttle, but he suddenly shoves her inside and seals the door behind her. As Mayumi departs, Naoki steps into space with Q's help. On Earth, at the beach house, Jab welcomes Mayumi with tea. She confesses feeling as if she's lost part of her memory. Jab reassures her it happens to everyone. A beautiful film with incredible music and a terrifying look at a shattered relationship where abuse reaches its most extreme form, ending in death. Will people in the future still be unable to free themselves from this curse?